And it's not just Britain's hidden history, Wilson and Blackett and Ross, who are describing the apocalypse from the comet. Here's another one in the Independent newspaper, dated Saturday 9th of September 2000. And it's an article by Steve Connor, and it's entitled Apocalypse Then, How Comet Ended Roman Empire. A close shave with a comet nearly 1500 years ago caused a catastrophic change in the global climate, leading to famine, plague, the end of the Roman Empire, the birth of the Dark Ages, and even the legend of King Arthur. A leading British scientist said at the British Association meeting in London yesterday. Debris from the near miss bombarded the Earth with meteors, which threw enough dust and water vapour into the atmosphere to cut out sunlight and cool the planet, the weather, and cause crop failure across the northern hemisphere. The cataclysmic famines weakened people's resistance to disease and led to the Great Plague of the Emperor Justinian. It could also be responsible for the Arthurian stories about gods appearing in the sky, followed by a fertile kingdom becoming a wasteland. Mike Bailey, Professor of Paleontology at Queen's University in Belfast, said, "The central piece of evidence for a sudden global climate change about AD 540 comes from the study of tree rings, which highlight the years when plant growth was poor or non-existent. Oaks live for a long period, and in order for a lot of them to show narrow rings at the same time, it must have been a profoundly unpleasant event as far as the tree is concerned." The event of AD 540 is in, or at least the start of the Dark Ages, and in my view probably caused the Dark Ages. It was a catastrophic environmental downturn which shows up in tree rings from Siberia, Scandinavia, Northern Europe, North America and South America, he said. The idea is that the Earth was hit by a cosmic swarm, a whole stack of cometary debris in a short period of time, and that loaded the atmosphere with dust and debris and caused some sort of environmental downturn. Tree rings round the world clearly indicate a major climate change, unprecedented in the past 2 millenniums. This could have cooled the Earth by a few degrees, enough to cause crops to fail for several years in succession. It only requires a few degrees cooler conditions across the year for a few years, wiping out several consecutive harvests, and you've got a serious problem for any agricultural society. If you weaken a population through starvation and lack of sunlight, they are going to be susceptible to disease. It's a very unpleasant package of an environmental event. Famines and plague all happening inside less than a decade. It's nearly impossible to get historians to take this seriously. When confronted with this event, which is clear in the tree records, their immediate reaction is that if something like this had happened, it would be written down. Hence, they don't go and look in any real detail to see what is there, Professor Bailey said. I am calling for a debate by scientists and historians on how to approach the evidence for catastrophic events of this kind which were previously not known to have taken place. Hints of it appear in mythology, a subject normally too taboo for scientists and historians. Historians believe that King Arthur was a reference to the Irish sky god. Cuchulainn, Professor Bailey told the BA meeting, Clearly, there is some association between the death of Arthur, just around AD 540, and a bright Celtic sky god who is described in terms reminiscent of a comet. He said some authors suggested the AD 540 event might be the eruption of a supervolcano. I don't subscribe to that. I think if there had been one in the 6th century, we'd know about it geologically, he said. In my view, we had some sort of interaction with a comet. A cometary bombardment, not a full-blown comet because we wouldn't be here if we'd had that. And then Professor John Lowe, a climate scientist at the Royal Holloway College, London, said, "It's entirely plausible. If the older geological records we have evidence of such tremendous climatic viability over short timescales, and not all of it can be explained by the sort of cyclical phenomena that we know about." That isn't the only article in scientific papers about that comet. Here's another one in Science Daily. And this article is called "Astronomers Unravel a Mystery of the Dark Ages." Undergraduates' work blames comet for 6th century nuclear winter. That's dated February the 4th, 2004, Cardiff University. Scientists at Cardiff University, UK, believe they have discovered the cause of crop failures and summer frosts some 1500 years ago, a comet colliding with Earth. The team has been studying evidence from tree rings, which suggests that the Earth underwent a series of very cold summers around 536 to 540 AD, indicating an effect rather like a nuclear winter. The scientists in the School of Physics and Astronomy believe this was caused by a comet hitting the Earth and exploding in the upper atmosphere. The debris from this great explosion was such that it enveloped the Earth in soot and ash, blocking out the sunlight and causing the very cold weather. This effect is known as a plume and is similar to that which was seen when Comet Shoemaker Levy 9 hit Jupiter in 1995. Historical references from this period, known as the Dark Ages, are sparse, but what records there are tell of crop failures and summer frosts. The work was carried out by 2 Cardiff undergraduate students, Emma Rigby and Mel Simmons, as part of their student project work under the supervision of Dr. Derek Ward-Thompson. Their findings are reported in the February issue of Astronomy and Geophysics, the in-house magazine of the Royal Astronomical Society. The surprising result of the new work is just how small a comet is needed to cause such dramatic effects. The scientists calculate that a comet not much more than half a kilometre across could cause a global nuclear winter effect. This is significantly smaller than was previously thought. Dr. Ward-Thompson said, "One of the exciting aspects of this work is that we have reclassified the size of comet that represents a global threat. This work shows that even a comet of only half a kilometre in size could have global consequences. Previously, nothing less than a kilometre across was counted as a global threat. If such an event happened again today, then once again a large fraction of the Earth's population could face starvation. The comet impact caused crop failures and widespread starvation among the 6th century population. The timing coincides with the Justinian plague, widely believed to be the first appearance of the Black Death in Europe. It is possible that the plague was so rampant and took hold so quickly because the population was already weakened by starvation." And apparently that also happened over in North America. And this is an extract from National Geographic: Giant Meteorites Slammed Earth Around AD 500. And it's written by Richard A. Lovett, published 4th of February 2010. Pieces of a giant asteroid or comet that broke apart over Earth may have crashed off Australia about 1500 years ago, says a scientist who has found evidence of the possible impact craters. Satellite measurements of the Gulf of Carpentaria revealed tiny changes in a sea level that are signs of impact craters on the seabed below, according to new research by marine geophysicist Dallas Abbott. Based on the satellite data, one crater should be about 11 miles or 18 kilometers wide, while the other should be about 7.4 miles or 12 kilometers wide. So it seems to have been a fairly common experience around AD 500, and I've read on the BHH Facebook group forums that one of our members said that two parts of the Halley's Comet drop off and come in across the Earth in different timescales to the passing of Halley's Comet. So 8500, 8540, 8562 is the interesting thing is no one is arguing that there wasn't a comet. What they're arguing about is the date that parts of the comet caused the destruction. I think I would tend to believe Wilson and Blackett. And in one of the books, there's a section by Alan Wilson on why the tree ring dendrochronology isn't as accurate as it could be. There's correspondence between him and certain tree ring readers over the dating, because one of them said it was 535 AD. And maybe you can make up your own mind whether Alan Wilson comes out on top. But the other thing is that the actual dating of AD is inaccurate. A lot of people use the two initials CE, so that could stand for Common Era, or it could stand for Christian Era, or it could even stand for Common Era, and the error being the dating of the point of reference. When was 0 or 1 AD? Was it the birth of Jesus the Christ? Or was it the death of Jesus the Christ? We've seen elsewhere that the Druids regarded, or the early British Christians rather, regarded the dating as being from the Ascension. So that's the crucifixion. So that could be 33 AD as a starting point. So we could be 33 plus years out from the start date. And there's two ways of dating it. Either the Catholic Church way or the Apostolic Church way. Common Era.